This little piece of tech truly revolutionized what a compact laptop can do for productivity. 5 years ago, the M1 MacBook Air was considered the best value laptop you could buy. But here's the real question: how well does it hold up today? From what I know, the M1 MacBook Air has been discontinued. You can't really buy a brand new unit in physical stores anymore. The good news is you can still find a second-hand unit for around 25,000 pesos or roughly $500. Now, this isn't my laptop. This is actually my girlfriend's personal laptop, but I got used to it for a while when my Acer Nitro laptop was in for repairs. And honestly, that was my very first time using a Mac, but coming from a Windows, I'll admit it was a little confusing at first. But watching a few YouTube tutorials and getting some hands-on time, I got the hang of it. The 13-inch Retina display looks sharp and vibrant. Most of the time we use this for watching movies, and the colors really pop in every scene. However, when you max out the brightness, the dark scenes don't show true blacks, which is understandable for a non-OLED panel, and honestly, it's not a big deal for us. The built-in speaker on the M1 MacBook Air are surprisingly good. For such a compact and portable laptop, the sound is clear and balanced.
Why would you be so selfish?
Selfish? Listen to me, Olive Oil. I was out there looking for that little girl every single day.
Most of the time, we don't even bother connecting a Bluetooth speaker when we're watching a movie. The thin lightweight design makes this laptop super easy to carry at just 2.8 pounds or about 1.29 kilograms. Traveling with it is effortless. And I have to say that the aluminum unibody build feels solid and premium. This is the kind of quality that gives you confidence bringing it anywhere. If you're always on the go, you'll definitely appreciate how portable it is. Just slip it in your bag and you're good to go. But just be careful though, even with its sturdy build, a simple drop can still leave a noticeable dent. Typing on the keyboard feels great, it's backlit, comfortable, and the trackpad is incredibly responsive. Sure, it's not as spacious as the one on my M4 MacBook Pro, but it still works like magic. And honestly, there are times that I'd rather use the trackpad than my Logitech MX mouse. It's just that good. About the ports, you only get two Thunderbolt 3 ports and a 3.5mm headphone jack. So yeah, you'll probably need a dongle for things like connecting an external monitor, a USB drive, or transferring files from an SD card. But over time though, I got used to it, and honestly, once you adjust, macOS feels completely different from Windows, but in a good way, especially once you tweak it to match your workflow. For light everyday tasks, the M1 MacBook Air is perfectly capable. I can have multiple Chrome tabs open while researching for a video, writing scripts, or responding to emails, all without any noticeable lag. Even with just 8 GB of RAM, we've never experienced significant slowdowns during regular day-to-day use. This particular unit is about a year old, and when we bought it, this M1 cost us around 39,000 pesos, and the M4 MacBook Air that time was about 72,000. So there's a very big difference in that price range. But since that we're only gonna use this, or she's gonna only use this for social media, answering emails, and watching movies, then M1 MacBook Air was the ideal choice. Now let's talk about heavier workloads like photo and video editing. When my Windows laptop was in for repairs, I borrowed this MacBook Air and installed DaVinci Resolve to finish a project. But here's the challenge. This unit only has 256 GB of internal storage and 8 GB of RAM, which is not ideal for bigger projects. At that time, I was editing a business overview video with about 80 GB of 4K footage, but to make it work, I plugged in an external SSD to store all the media files, and to my surprise, this tiny laptop can handle that like a champ. Of course, I had to make a few adjustments like closing all Chrome tabs while editing to free up RAM and keep the system running smoothly. For light moderate video editing, the M1 MacBook Air is more than capable. That Retina IPS display helps too. Colors are very vibrant and fairly accurate. It's good enough for casual editing or content creation. In fact, this very video you're watching was edited on the M1 MacBook Air. That said, if you're planning to work on heavier projects, the 256 internal storage and 8 GB of RAM will feel limiting pretty quickly. Apple did bump the base M4 MacBook Air to 16 GB of RAM, but it still starts with 256 of storage. So realistically, 16 GB of RAM and 512 of internal storage should be the baseline for any laptop today, especially if you're editing videos, working with high-res photos, or multitasking with multiple apps. If you're buying secondhand, the 8 GB of RAM and 256 of storage combo will still get the job done, but you'll need to work around its limits, like using an external storage, keeping background apps closed, and managing your workflow. The M1 chip really stands out for its power efficiency. It delivers strong performance while using very little power. In the real world use, you can get around 10 to 15 hours of light tasks like browsing, writing scripts, or streaming videos. But for heavier work like video editing and exporting projects or running multiple creative apps, the battery still holds up for around 6 to 8 hours, which is impressive for such a thin and light laptop. Since the MacBook Air is fanless, it stays quiet and cool during light workloads. But during heavy tasks like editing or rendering, it can get warm near the keyboard, though never so hot that it's uncomfortable to use. It still runs the latest version of macOS, and it's expected to receive updates for at least 2 more years. Based on Apple's update cycle, you can expect to get macOS 17 or macOS 18 around 2027 or 2028 before official support ends. So if you're worried about longevity, you'll still get several solid years of updates and security patches, and you can definitely keep using this laptop even after that. Just keep in mind that some apps might eventually need newer macOS version to run smoothly. The M4 MacBook Air is honestly the best value laptop or the best value MacBook you can get right now, but if you're on a tight budget, the M1 MacBook Air is still a great choice, especially if you just want to try macOS for the first time before saving up for a new model. And if you can, look for the 16 GB of RAM and 512 gigs of internal storage. It gives you more room to work with, and on the second-hand market, it usually won't cost that much more. So yeah, or you can spend a bit more. I'd say go for the M2 or M3 MacBook Airs, since you'll get better performance and longer support for that. If you're a student or a virtual assistant or just need a reliable laptop for everyday tasks, this little machine will still get the job done and do it really well.